Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go!
All right, Scott McCauley, that was a winter wonderland. I thought it was Thanksgiving we were celebrating and not Christmas, but thank goodness for a solid running game, and it worked to your favor.
Yeah, like as soon as we saw the weather and that most likely we were going to be playing in snow or sleet, we're kind of happy because the Edmonton Wildcats had a pretty good passing game, and we knew that we could run the ball fairly well, and that's kind of our style as of right now, and so we took advantage of it.
Yeah, and took advantage of it to the tune of a record. At any point, did you know what the total was on the sidelines? You don't give a shit. It's just keep pounding the ball.
Yeah, I never had any idea like how many yards we'd actually had gained, and I think at that point we were just run the ball to run down the clock and get out of there. Right? Everybody was freezing and it was cold, and things were going fairly well, and pretty sure the Wildcats weren't really engaged as much as they wanted to be at that point as the game kind of progressed. So the bottom line is that we just kept on running the ball and running the clock out and trying to get out of there to get warm.
At any point, did they ask you for a tent? You guys had 4 tents over there. Their one tent blew away within like 10 seconds of the game.
I have no idea. That's their problem, not mine.
That's their problem. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Hey, so 7-1. Speaking of Thanksgiving, home cooking now all the way through the playoffs, starting with the Huskies. Let's talk about your team's mindset here.
Yeah, I mean, like we after we played the game on Sunday, I'll say everybody was pretty happy. That's one of our goals. Like I think it's only the third time in Thunder history that we actually finished first place, which is maybe kind of sad when you think about it. But hey, third time since COVID, the reborning of the Regina Thunder. But so third time, so everyone was pretty happy that players got a chance to leave a legacy, and they'll always be remembered for doing what they accomplished during the regular season. And now we got to get focused on the playoff run here. And we actually took Monday off, except for injury assessment, and so we're going to get back together today. And this is when we'll kind of talk about the upcoming week and what it looks like, and game plans, and get organized for the upcoming weekend.
Yeah, and your opponents, the Huskies, talk about them. They can play tough football. Don't let the record deceive you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean you can't look past them like that. That's for sure. Like that's always kind of the one thing I always get kind of worried about. Like we feel like we have a good team that can obviously get to the PC final, but I mean you got to beat the Edmonton Huskies first, and so we're just taking every week by week, and the focus now is on the Edmonton Huskies. We played them twice already. First game they actually had a good opportunity to maybe beat us, but we were able to pull it out in the end. So just kind of went through all their film and stuff last night. They're big, they're athletic, and if they get some momentum and stuff, you could be in trouble, right?
Yeah. Hey, talk about that. Back to the Wildcats game. One of the highlight plays, you guys swung it out to your left tackle from California, and he scored a touchdown. Barajas. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was something like we talked about trying to put some things in that get the players a little bit excited and stuff. And Gusway had run something similar like that when he's down in the States, and so they I think we practiced maybe twice. And we said, I started to push him because a lot of times you'll practice things and like, will they actually call it in a game, or is he going to get scared, And so we said if anytime it's on the left hash, 8-yard line, like we're automatically like it's a go. And so I know the players are trying to get to the left hash and get it into that area, and they were able to do it. And next thing you know, Gusway called it. So I was kind of shocked, to be honest, but good for him.
You guys had a great 1-2 punch the last couple of years at running back, and you got it again this year. So the formula stayed the same with, Ashman and, of course, Borsch.
Yeah. And they feed off each other really, really well. Like, Ashman's really explosive, and if he can get a little bit of daylight and stuff, like, he's off to the races. Where, like, Borsch, like, he's really good at grinding the ball, going north-south, finding those little seams and wearing teams down. And also they both had really great games. And then we also got another guy back, Jacob Cordes, that's really shifty and nimble and stuff. And he actually played his first game, I think, in like 5 weeks. So he looked pretty darn good as well.
Yeah, so you got a good tandem in terms of running backs. Now you've got an interesting tandem in terms of quarterbacks. With you got, of course, Mosher, but you got Harnett that comes over from the Huskies. We'll talk about his Actually, let's talk about how he came to join your team. Because it's like, because in the PFC, you don't make trades and you don't sign free agents, but this is like a free agent acquisition almost.
Yeah, we had to send them a bag of pucks and I guess footballs. But no, I think like basically the Empton Huskies, like after we played them our third game that we played them, like at the end of the game, I remember talking to their team manager, and he's saying about how, they're a pretty young team. They got a bunch of first and second year guys, and how great they're going to be, in the coming years. And, it kind of got me thinking, like, what are you doing with Jackson Harnett? Like, the very first game, like, I felt like they weren't playing their best players, to be honest. Like, Jackson Harnett was one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and caused a lot of issues for us. And the fact that he wasn't playing was kind of confusing, but it sounded like they were going with their first and second years, and I think Jackson finally kind of was told the truth of like where he started to fit into the picture, and they wanted to go with their younger quarterback and maybe use him in different spots at receiver and running back. Like I saw him play one down a running back before he came to us. And so I think eventually he started to kind of look at different options, what was available out there, and you either want to go to a team that could be a quarterback or go to a team that has a great chance of winning. And so we were able to land him, and thank goodness we were, because he's been awesome for us so far.
Yeah, he's an athlete, like a really good athlete. He returned a kick in the game, and he had a long touchdown run called back and then scored a touchdown run. Like, he's kind of that Swiss Army knife, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he can throw the ball too. We just got to try to open that up a little bit. But it's good to kind of have Moshe go to the sidelines, maybe watch their defense for a little bit of a change up. It's not like he's running like a million different plays. He'll have a specific package each week, and we'll throw him in and see how it goes.
Will he get a couple extra special plays this week going against this team? That's always, as a coach, when you got a player like that against an old team, you don't really have to have a rah-rah speech for the kid.
No. We probably just make him the starting quarterback this week and just let him just do what he's got to do and have some fun out there, right? But Well, definitely he'll get on the field in a few different capacities, and it'll be interesting to see how he prepares this week and how he conducts himself on during the game.
Yeah, how do you like? We didn't get to see much of it. There was a few balls thrown. In fact, Mosher had a nice touchdown pass to Sweeney, kind of a back shoulder throw in the snow. You guys wore the jerseys that are nice on your back, but hard to tell as a play-by-play guy. Then there was a blizzard, so we couldn't even tell who caught the ball for the first couple of seconds there. But so my point is, how are you feeling about your passing game going to the playoffs?
Pretty good. We're trying to still kind of figure out what the best route is. Like when you start running the ball quite a bit, now you got to build some things off of it, like RPOs, play action passes, things like that. Maybe boot the quarterback out. So we're just trying to get everything kind of like in order. Definitely have some great receivers. Just need to work on our timing and make sure that our completion rates go up a little bit more.
So, is there one thing that you're really going to focus on for your team as you start? Like, is there a theme, a motto as you go into the playoffs here?
I haven't got to that point yet. I got to kind of sit down and think about like what we're going to be focusing on this week. But each week we do goal setting. There is always a theme, and to be honest, like I think from the last couple of years, like you got to get better each week. It doesn't even matter who your opponent is. Like obviously this is the playoffs, and this is now like it's live bullets. But even like last week with them to Wildcats, like we we're pretty confident that we're going to win that game. But the biggest thing is like, are we getting better that week? Because as soon as you don't get better one week, you come complacent. Then like later on when you're playing against some of the better teams like the Huskies or the Hilltops or Okanagan, like you'll be missing something, right? So again, this week's just all about like focusing on the Huskies, getting 1% better at everything that we do, tightening some areas up that we feel like we can exploit the Huskies, and then keep on growing as a team.
I would think discipline's got to be a key, because if I remember correctly, I called that game. The Huskies were taking there was a lot of penalties from their side of things. They were taking some liberties with you guys, so that's something you got to probably preach to your guys.
Yeah, I think the Huskies, for whatever reason, they decided to go with younger guys. I think that game they were trying to go out there and set the physical tone and be a bunch of bullies. Like I don't expect them to do that this game. Like they're trying to win the game as well, and you can't win the game that way. So I don't expect them to be going out there and taking the UR penalties like they were in that first game. I think they were just trying to set the tone with their team for the rest of the year and stuff like that, and trying to get out there and just be physical and really just shot themselves in the foot. But I'm sure this game, They won't be doing that because they won't be able to win. And I'm expecting more of a clean game, but a physical game. But we'll just make sure our guys are focused on playing the game and not the extracurricular activities.
Are you a deja vu guy, like a guy that's kind of nostalgic because your 2013 team is going into the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame, right? Like it goes into the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame, that first ever championship for the Thunder. You were the coach, home turf. I got to call that game. That was cool. Do you ever like kind of will use that maybe as a rallying point? Because you guys, you're playing home now. Like you don't have to leave Regina, which is cool.
Yeah, no, like we do talk about trying to like leave a legacy. And we want, we want to give the fifth years like something to remember this season by and have them going out on a winning note and things like that. So, I'll have to bring out a couple rings, bring out the Regina Ram rings from 97, 98, and then also the 2013 ring and show them what they're playing for and try to, create a little bit of hype that way. But I'm pretty sure the players don't really care about what I've done in the past anyways.
Yeah.
They want to concentrate on what's happening right now. And but we'll get the boys fired up and ready to rock and roll.
Well, in most recent history, you guys have been to the dance the last two times and just couldn't get over the hump, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of a bit of the frustrating part. But I mean, at the end of the day, like we know what we need to do to win games and put ourselves in situations to win games, and so just try to make sure that every year, like you got new guys on the team, and make sure that they're buying in and they're listening and trying to like do what we're telling them to do, and if they do, like good things will happen, right?
Do you know, are you playing all the way through at Leibel Field, which is unbelievable home field advantage, except for, I guess, if there's the national championship? Like, do you know how this goes with you guys now? Is Leibel the home base now?
Yeah, like, I mean, we would love to play all our games there. If we are able to beat the Huskies this weekend, where we are playing at Leibel, the following week we probably would host, say, the Saskatoon Hilltops. And I think we go to Mosaic Stadium for that game because, we'd have a larger crowd. So if you get 3,000 people, like we wouldn't be able to fit 3,000 people into Leibel Field. So that's a lot of gate money, and the league's actually the one that sort of runs the playoff games. So they're going to want to go to Mosaic Stadium for sure for that game.
Two more quick questions. You guys were going to you had the Seniors Day, so the parents got to come out, which I don't, it was kind of dampened it with the weather, but with their kids, like the Greens and the Philizaks of the world. But you're going to have a wiener dog race at halftime and hot dogs, $2. It got pushed back. Like what I'm getting at is we need a nice big crowd here for Sunday's game against the Huskies. And it looks like the weather should be 180-degree opposite of what we experienced.
I hope so. Wiener dogs. All I know is Kelly Rempel comes up with some crazy idea, half $2 hot dogs. And then you got 47 wiener dogs that signed up originally and stuff, right? So maybe you'll lose a few, maybe you'll gain a few, but I'm excited just to see that happen. Actually, Kelly Ripple has a wiener dog himself, so he's entering his own dog into the race as well. So we'll have to see if he kind of sets it up that his dog wins or what. But,
is there prize money? Because he probably has it set up that his dog will win, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, lastly, Scott, and I had referenced this when the rules were changing, or there's proposed rule changes. Like that hurts you guys. Like think about it 2 years from now, okay? We're in the same situation. We're having this conversation. You're a dynastic team now. You're hosting again, and the Hilltops have to come to Regina. Well, what are we doing here? Are we playing? Is Leibel Field changed, or are we playing different rules at Leibel Field? Now, if I go that's a lot of money coming out of the coffers if you can't play your game. Like, how pissed off were you when you heard this come down? That can't be happy. Your team, CJFL, you can't be happy with these proposed rule changes.
No, I was pissed off. I finally felt like Michael Bull. I threw out a few tweets out there, and I definitely had a lot of people like come back at me, some haters hating and all that kind of stuff. But then there's a lot of people also had my back. But you're right, like that's the biggest thing is like I don't care about like the rule changes per se, but the infrastructure of the field and stuff, like it's just the whole thing's like you said, you're playing two different types of games. So you work your butt off, you win all these games at Leibel Field, and all of a sudden you got the PSC Championship or the National Championship game at Mosaic Stadium, and all of a sudden now you're playing with the field goal post at the back of the end zone and things like that. Like, I mean, all of a sudden everything changes, right? And to me, that's just making amateur football very amateurish, right? Where we're trying to be as professional as we possibly can, and we put all the time and effort in for it as well. But if we don't go to Mosaic Stadium, like, if you have an extra 2,000 people at your game, that's $40,000. Like, and we're a nonprofit organization that relies on that money to be able to turn on the lights. So if you stay at Liable Field, now what do you do? Like, you have to increase the prices to make up for that lost revenue, I guess. But then now you're just kind of screwing over the people that always support you as well. Like, it's a tough thing. Like, and I don't think it's been
these guys, though, Scott, lose. Like, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, and I don't mean this to be rude. I have a problem with all the rule changes, not necessarily the benches, and if they add an extra timeout with the 35-second play clock, depends how that goes. But the rouge and everything, I don't like it. Here's the thing. Let's take Stephen Smith, for example, the guy who's playing for you that's playing for the Argos now, okay?
Yeah.
Not everybody that plays junior or youth sports football is doing it because they want to play pro. They're doing it because that's the last chance for them to play football, hang with their buddies, get an education, because you guys do that. And the small fraction do get a chance to try out and go pro, and your organization has sent a lot of guys to the league. But think about that. That fuels your excitement to play, and maybe I can go to the next level. You never play a down of like, you don't play the same game they play at the pros. So like, where's your interest level? A lot of these guys still are like, no, I want to be Luke Kuechly and I want to be Derwin James. They don't even cite CFL players, and now we're going to totally blow that out of the water. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Pisses me off.
It's gonna be different. Like, we'll see what happens too. Like, I was thinking about, like, even U Sports. So, you know, the Rams are at Mosaic, Calgary's at McMahon Stadium.
Yeah.
You know, and then what will end up happening? Manitoba's at the Investors Group Field or whatever it's called now.
McGill, Montreal Alouettes.
Yeah. So then what will happen is that the UBC, U of A, teams that have their own stadiums, they're gonna have to make changes, and it's gonna be, you know, it's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. And then you go look at Ontario, right? All the Ontario schools play in their own private stadiums, except for maybe, say, McMaster's. But McMaster has their own private stadium too. So what's going to end up happening is the entire OUA going to, like, change their field structures? No. They're going to tell everyone to beat it. So now all of a sudden the Rams, they probably can't even play at Mosaic Stadium anymore. They're going to have to play at Liable Field. But then the RMF is... They're not going to want to go play their games at Mosaic Stadium. They have their own stadium. Like, that is the RMF Stadium. So if they start playing more games there and don't utilize Mosaic, then they're going to bump the Rams. They're going to bump the Thunder. They're going to bump the high school teams. And then the high school teams, like, they're going to play 50%. If you're Balfour or Winston Knoll, Riffle, you're going to play 50% of your games at Mosaic Stadium and 50% of your games at Liable Field. They're not going to want to do that either. So, like, they're going to want to try to play at Liable Field as well. So, like, now what's going to happen is that no one's going to play at Mosaic Stadium. Liable Field's going to be playing games, like, every single night, all week, till, like, midnight. Or what's going to happen is that the Rams, the Thunder, we're going to get bumped out of Liable Field, which I think would happen. We're going to have to play our games at Mosaic Stadium. So then everybody, when you go to Saskatoon, or for us, Calgary at Shoaldice, or Edmonton, you're going to be playing with the current sort of infrastructure, the way the field is built now. And then when everybody comes to our stadium, 1 game a year for them, but 4 games a year for us, we're going to play a different game. Like, it's...
That
you
doesn't
guys
make
say,
any
well,
sense.
coach is coach. Just figure out, coach is coach. Yeah, you're right. But at the same time, like, it's amateurish. Like, we want to do things as professional as we possibly can. And I don't know. It's
coach is coach, but they already coach free. They already coach free. Like, come on, they got a family. Like, you work, you have a job. Plus, you do laundry. Plus, you do everything for the kids. Like, you're unbelievable.
We're
and you're not
volunteering. We ain't getting paid.
Yeah, you're not getting paid. Like, that's what I'm. It's to me, it's 10 guys in a boardroom, and I'm not putting words in your mouth because you got like, listen, you got to be distant. But it's 10 guys in a boardroom that's just sitting there making decisions for all of Canada. And the part that pisses me off is they didn't contact any of you guys till just before the press conference. But they'll tell media, oh, they didn't want to do it because of leaks. Well, then why did you tell 3 Down Nation and why did you tell TSN, all the master leakers? Why would you do that? Like, what are you doing? Anyway, hey, here's what I hope. I hope we have an epic run here that we can enjoy, pure Canadian football, and I actually hope U Sports Junior stay Canadian, because when the CFL drops the ball and fails at what they're doing, there'll still be a Canadian game to gravitate back to. So if you guys are having those discussions, I plead with you to keep the Canadian game. If you can, keep the Canadian game. But good luck in the playoffs, Scott.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, we're at the Den here with my buddy Shamar Donaldson. Donaldson, you remember the name? Vincent Donaldson. That's right, the former Rider, great Ram coach. This is his son. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, how are you?
Awesome. Okay, so we're at the Den. Tell us a bit about this great facility.
Yeah, so the Den is a sports performance center for young athletes and full-grown adults as well. We're also providing dry land and strength training programs currently for young athletes. So it gives them a chance to kind of utilize off-season or in-season training just to keep their game up.
Yeah, we know how football is, has taken off, both tackle and flag in Saskatchewan, in Regina. We also know that we get the winter months, but as you can see, this field is suited for, like you said, 13 to 17-year-old athletes, not just football, all types of sports.
Yeah, exactly. Like lacrosse, we have lacrosse teams in here, baseball, everything, soccer. So it's meant for everybody.
Right, Shamar, I already talked about your dad, but let's talk about you. I can see you're as good looking like your dad, and you're a former football player like your dad. Tell us about your background so people know more or less what they're getting into when they come to the director of training and operations here.
So at the Den, we do provide in-season dry land and strength training, as well as off-season. We have right now groups going Monday through Friday. We are offering anything from recovery to strength to speed, agility. We just have the full package for athletes to kind of understand how to take care of themselves and to continue improving their game.
Okay, before we go more into this place, tell me a bit about yourself, because we know your dad was an accomplished football player. He helped my son develop a bit too. What's your background, not only in football, but just as an athlete and helping the stars of tomorrow today?
So I started football at a young age. I was an RMF kid. And then I moved on to the Laboldus Golden Suns, and then I moved out to Kelowna and played with the Okanagan Sun for 3 years. Came back home, and ever since I've just been kind of learning how to be a good coach, be a good trainer, and help the next generation evolve.
Yeah. So you're a certified trainer. You also have a speed background because you're into sprinting and everything like that. So.
Yeah. I ran nationally in high school, 5th in the country, but yeah, speed has always kind of been my passion, and I enjoy just knowing the science of it and helping kids understand that running isn't just running. There is mechanics that you need to kind of perfect to be able to get from point A to point B.
There's a classroom here too, where you can have some sort of like a classroom work too, like even the mental side of sports.
Yeah, exactly. So you can come up here. We got a TV up there. You guys can be doing film, just kind of dissecting pro athletes, your team, future teams that you're going to play, so that you guys can kind of have more of a mental side, and it's not just physical, so that you guys can actually connect the dots on how to be successful as a team.
Well, parents generally put out the money for their kids to develop, and you also can sit up there and watch your kids develop. I'm sure, as I see the chair's position there, that's not where you direct them. You're on the field. The parents can sit up there, right, and take this in, right?
Yes, they can observe 100% of everything that's going on here. So
awesome. And like you said, it's not just about the young athletes. We can have adults too. We got the weight room, and the key with sports, and my son has found this out talking to some of the old guys on the team like Dembski and Oliveira on the Bombers, and I don't mean old, I mean guys who are mature veterans. You got to look after your body, and you can do that here. Tell us how you can look after your body besides the weights.
Yeah, so we got our recovery room in the back here. We have the sauna, we have 2 cold plunge tubs, we have a massage chair, and we have red light therapy coming very soon.
Yeah, and that massage chair, you sat in it for the first time. I'm gonna have to sit in it too, man. That is like, is that puts you to sleep or what?
Oh, you might need to do it on camera. On camera review for that one.
Awesome, man. So if people want to get involved here and get on board with sessions or just to get a membership, how do they go about doing that, Shamar?
So you can go to our website at thedenyqr.ca. You can sign up there, you can get a membership, or you can even just get a punch pass just to try out the class, just to see if it works for you, or just to work around your schedule. So
available all social media, and we'll be here throughout the coming months as they've come on board. The Den, Shamar Donaldson, Chad, and his wife Paige, right? Am I correct with that? Yeah, Paige and Chad. Come check them out. Where are we located? Here's the thing too. People are like, where's this located? I'll tell you what, it's worth a little bit of a drive north of Regina. We're at 359 Sherwood Road.
351.
351 Sherwood Road. That's what it is, and you can't miss it.
No, it's 2 minutes outside the city. It's nothing.
And the parking lot on either side, it's footballs. You drive through and you're in heaven.
And actually, those footballs came from the old stadium.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. A little tidbit here from Shamar in our first session. Thanks for checking it out. And the Den's going to be on board all season long. Well, Duke Ellingson, how are you, bud?
I'm doing well, Michael. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. First off, before I saw your little write-up in 3 Down Nation, and it was good, but verbally, just tell my viewers what you think of the proposed rule changes.
Well, when they first got announced, I was trying to have an open mind and trying to, wrap my mind around, maybe the upside of some of them. And, I guess originally I thought some of these, especially things like the 35-second clock, I think made some sense. And so kind of just walked myself through them and, was okay with kind of the premise. But then as I really started to ponder and talk to some folks, it started to really, I'd say kind of bug me that it was done the way it was done. It was done when it was done. And as I said in my article, I think my biggest thing was just feeling like there really wasn't a clear path to a fix to the rules. In other words, as I tried to write in my article, like usually rule changes come about because there's a problem, a perceived problem with a game, competitiveness, whatever it may be. And I don't think any of those rules could be pointed back to a problem that the CFL has. And so that just got me really wondering about why now and why the way it was presented, it seemed like there wasn't a whole lot of input from very many stakeholders.
Yeah, it seems like so many things with the CFL. I love this league. You played in this league. You cover this league. You love it. We both love it. But it doesn't mean you can't be critical of it. I mean, one of my best people to keep me in check is my significant other. Like, she supports me, but she also says, hey, you're doing this wrong, or maybe do this differently. It seems like there's not a lot of forethought in this league, is there?
Well, no. And I mean, I don't think I've ever, and by the way, my wife is great at that as well. I had her read my article first and kind of give me some edits and some ideas. So I definitely can relate to having a smarter, better half to keep you in check. But no, I mean, it's very, very unusual the way this has taken place. And I can't think of any league or similar situation where in the middle of a season, a commissioner or a leader of a league comes out and without any sort of knowledge, nobody on any team, as far as I know, knew anything about this. Certainly players, coaches, I asked a couple of the TSN folks. I figured they must know the morning of the announcement, hey, what's happening? What's it about? And they were blindsided as well, right? So it's a very strange approach to, rule changes, communication, and especially coming from a commissioner who has only been in the job for a handful of months.
So I think it's going to be one of the biggest tragedies in CFL history when it does come to pass. It could be changed. Hopefully smarter heads prevail. But I think I don't know if I've seen a bigger tragedy. Like, I know Ottawa's had a couple of teams fold, and that is tragic. But in the last 25, 30 years, is there a bigger tragedy than what's happened in Edmonton? I watched my son play against the Elkamos there on whatever day it was, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And you used to go there 50, 60,000. You were lucky if you won a game in Edmonton. You know that playing. Like, if you won even a regular season nondescript game in August, it was like you won a Grey Cup. You show up there now, they announced it at 15,000. There are 5,000 people there. There's no bigger tragedy in the last 30 years than what's happened to Edmonton.
No, and you're right. I mean, I grew up I watched my first Grey Cup game in 1970 that I remember, Montreal and Calgary at the old Autostad. And, from the time basically I was old enough to know better, Edmonton was pretty much the class of the league on the field and off. And I mean, you go back to that era of the late 70s, early 80s when they had, Tracy Ham, Matt Dunnigan, and Damon Allen all on the same team, right?
Yeah.
It blows your mind. And yeah, I mean, you went there, everything about Commonwealth was first class. As you said, the crowds were always, 40,000 plus, had the natural grass. And yeah, you very rarely came out of there with a W. And I don't know all of the reasons. I mean, it just feels like, first of all, when you set the professional sports record for the most consecutive home losses, as they did over the last few years, right? That's not going to help matters. Obviously, the on-field product has deteriorated. The name change, I don't think, was handled well, and I think they obviously lost a huge swath of their loyal fan base of a certain demographic, and yeah, everything has just gone and spiraled the wrong way. I will say that Mark Killam seems to have really done a nice job in a short period of time of at least bringing them back to competitiveness, and I think they're very entertaining to watch. So maybe they're on the upswing, but yeah, if somebody would have told me that, in 1990, that 35 years later, you'd feel sorry for anybody in Edmonton as a fan or a player, I never would have believed it.
And you wouldn't have cared. But now you're like, oh my,
No, probably not.
But now you're like, oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk Ottawa. Truth be told, I do have, I consider Bob Dice a friend. Like, we haven't gone for a beer, but we are friendly. We talk. He's been on the show a few times. Chad Hudson, who's in the organization, is a friend of mine. Brendan Tamman is a friend of mine. So I don't fire anybody on this show. I've never fired anybody. As a guy who has been recently fired, it's not a fun thing, okay? But I think we are at the point where I think Bob got an extension in the offseason, but I mean, I almost wonder if that whole thing needs an overhaul, to be honest with you.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. I mean, he's a very nice man, and you probably know that as well as anybody, but that's not necessarily a criteria to be a head coach. He's 18, 37, and 1 now as the head coach in Ottawa. Last year was interesting, right? Because they got off to that great start. And I think they then lost, I want to say, 5 of the last 6 games, and they went from really having a legitimate chance to hosting at the Eastern Final to kind of falling into third place. The only game they won in the last 6 weeks of the season was a mean-nothing game against Hamilton on the last game of the season, and even then it went down to the last play of the game on the goal line. And then they lost 58-30 or whatever it was in Toronto. Since then, and taking that little early stretch of 2024 out of the equation, it's been dreadful. It's been dreadful football. Both sides of the ball taking turns being ineffective, and now the special teams, and ironically bringing in Rick Campbell, as everybody thought, right, he would be here as the go-to sort of the guy Bob could lean on, and if something did go awry, that Rick Campbell was a ready-made head coach. And I think the special teams has been as bad as any in the league this year, and I think the worst of their 3 phases. And so you can't, and I don't know if you watched the game yesterday.
Yeah, I did.
I made the comment on our morning show today that the ineffectiveness and the conservative nature of the offense almost bordered on the absurd. They literally did not throw the ball past 15 yards down the field at any point in the game, and that's been their MO for the entire season. It feels like they think Tommy Condell is stubborn enough to think that even with not great talent, that they can put together 15 play drives at 5 yards a pop in the CFL when every other team in the league is throwing the ball all over the yard and making big plays. Did you know this, that going into Monday, and they didn't add to it, do you know how many 30-yard pass plays this team has had all season? 11. 11
Wow.
in an entire season of, and we're not talking about touchdowns. We're just talking about pass plays that have exceeded 30 yards in 11.
Wow.
It's so far down, they're dead last by a mile. And you think about how many teams, some teams are throwing 4 or 5 plays like that a game. And it's just awful.
Calgary Stampeders got to look at their schedule and go, how the hell did we lose to Ottawa?
Well, they lost the one game in that typhoon early in the season, which was just unbelievable. And then the second one when PJ Walker was playing instead of Vernon Adams. So that's how they lost those 2 games. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Ottawa won those 2 games. They beat Toronto down 22-1 at the end of the first quarter. You're going to win that game 1 out of 100 times. And then they beat BC when they were down by 15 in the fourth quarter and managed to find a way. That's all they've won all season long.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's just been, and so it always is going to land on the head coach, and it's his responsibility either to have more control over the offensive coordinator's strategy, play call, scheme, whatever you want to call it. And, he's always, to me, struggled with in-game decisions. I feel like he makes a lot of game management, time clock decision-making errors, and I just haven't seen any real improvement or growth in that. But you just can't win 18 games in 3 seasons and expect in any league, right, to keep your job.
So if Rick Campbell's unit, by your words and visually, is the worst of the 3 units on the team, how can he be the replacement coach? Because that's what when I saw. So when Dickey here added Jason Moss, I'm like, okay, it takes a pretty strong coach to maybe add his replacement. And then as it turns out, Moss goes and decides he gets let go and he wins Grey Cups and has a very competitive team in Montreal. But I thought, okay, Bob brings Rick Campbell in. Rick's got the history of winning the Grey Cup. That's an interesting move. But how can Rick Campbell be the head coach in waiting when his area sucked?
I don't think he is anymore. I mean, I think that was probably what everybody was thinking, was that this is a great fallback position, and should they make a decision in season or after the season, that Rick would be natural to step in with all the success he had in Ottawa when the Red Blacks came back into the league. But I don't think that's the case, and I think it's been evident that for whatever reason, his team, his side of the ball has just been a problem. Blocked punts, big returns week in, week out. Lewis Ward hasn't helped because he's all of a sudden forgotten how to kick a ball through the uprights. He's missed 10 field goals this year. So yeah, I think if I'm them, I'm looking well beyond the current coaching staff I think it's a huge hire in the organization right now. The fan apathy or maybe angst, I guess, is at an all-time high, and I don't think it would suffice to try to sell Rick Campbell as the replacement. I think they got to look for the next Buck Pierce or the next Mark Killam. Maybe a Jason McKismick is a guy that I would look at. Just one of those guys that's earned his opportunity as a coordinator. Somebody with some more cutting edge kind of ideas, and I think they really do have to look at how the other team and Corey Mace. I mean, Corey Mace was shouldn't say supposed to. He was in the running to be the head coach here when Bob Dice got the job. Mace was one of the ones that was a finalist for the job, and they went the other way. So, I mean, all these coaches, I think, have shown that you need young blood, and I think that's what the fans are going to demand, is somebody new.
What about a Henry Burris?
His name comes up all the time, just obviously because of the connection in Ottawa. I worry a little bit about it. It's kind of like the Matt Dunnigan experiment in Calgary back in the early 2000s, where you'd just like to have him had some head coaching experience somewhere before giving him the job. And you don't want to give him the job just because of his name, but absolutely his name has come up more than once.
Kahari Jones would be an interesting one too. I know he's out in UBC, but obviously he has a head coaching background and coaching background in the CFL and quarterbacking, and maybe that's what Drew Brown needs. By the way, that's my next question. Is Drew Brown the guy? Is he the guy?
Oh, man. You know the old saying that sometimes the best ability is availability. Boy, he struggles to stay on the field, and he's not a big guy.
No.
And to call somebody injury prone, but I made the comment I think the other day was that there are lots of players in the league, and I think Zach Collaros probably comes to mind as one of them, who he plays hurt a lot, and the drop off in his play is not significant. It feels like every time Drew gets banged up, his play drops off so significant. It's almost like he can't play at the level he needs to unless he's 100% healthy, and you're never going to be that way. as a quarterback in this league. So I really worry about that durability. And I hate not an excuse making, but just, it just feels like when he's hurt, that's the reason he played poorly. He's banged up. And now they sat him down the rest of the year. So obviously something was wrong, but he was terrible in the game here against Saskatchewan, the 3 interceptions. So, and Dustin Crum, despite the fact that he's got all kinds of warts and he's still trying to figure this out, I mean, his numbers and his learning curve has been really quite impressive. I mean, he's only thrown 2 interceptions in his last something like 200 passes, and he's given them at least a spark when he plays. So I think they got a real challenge to decide who's, and you don't want to go into next season with sort of the 1A, 1B conversation, because then you have an automatic quarterback controversy right out of the chute, and that's not a good way to start a season.
So obviously I'm biased, okay? You see the Bomber jersey over my shoulder, okay? And no team has ever crossed over. But I will say this. If there's one team that I would bet $5 or $10 on to do it, it would be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're veteran, and geographically, they don't have to travel that far. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're in the middle of Canada. However, I will say this, the Montreal Alouettes will not be an easy out. That would not be a very good first playoff game. And I really like what I see from Davis Alexander.
It's hard not to, but you know what? You and I see things very similarly. I've been kind of on Winnipeg all year. I mean, obviously they've had as many injuries as anybody else, but I've said the same thing. It's just a team in the playoffs that, with their pedigree and Mike O'Shea, you just wouldn't want to have to play them. And if anybody's capable, I mean, hey, they were in the East for a number of years when there was no Montreal Concords or Alouettes, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't want to play that team in the playoff game, and I don't care where the game is played. Could you imagine the scenario in this league if Winnipeg was the first team to cross over and get to a Grey Cup, play it at home, and I was realizing they'd have to stay in the East or the visitors' dressing room for the Grey Cup week, which is just beyond bizarre. But no, I think it's going to be Montreal and Winnipeg and I think Winnipeg's crossing over. So I do think it'll be Montreal, Winnipeg in the East final, and Saskatchewan and BC out west. And boy, with the way Nathan Rourke's playing, and Saskatchewan's struggled the last couple. They haven't looked very good. So I mean, we could be looking at a BC Winnipeg Grey Cup in Winnipeg.
Be interesting. Yeah, like if you're the Riders, you better hope, in my opinion, the way it's going, you better hope that there's a bit of inclement weather in the West final, because you wouldn't want a nice day with Nathan Rourke the way it's going. I've said the Bombers got lucky that they played BC the first two in the stupid CFL scheduling. They played him the first 2 weeks of the season back to back, so they didn't get Nathan Rourke when he was, heating up. This is where you mentioned Corey Mace, who just got extended today, and so did Jeremy O'Day.
Okay.
We're going to see exactly what Corey Mace is made of in terms of like meaningless football and having your team ready to go, because they've got a couple of meaningless weeks and then they've got the bye week coming up before they play. No, James, who'd say they wouldn't want a bye week, but that can bite teams in the butt, as you know.
It's happened in both the NFL and the CFL over the years, right? And it's hard for teams. And I'm interested, and you know it way better than most people, but is this weekend against Winnipeg considered a meaningless game? Is it ever a meaningless game when Saskatchewan and Winnipeg play, especially because Saskatchewan could do some damage to Winnipeg's playoff hopes, right? So I'm assuming Trevor's going to play all or most of this game, but yeah, they're going to have to figure out how do you balance the rust versus rest premise going into the rest of the season, extra bye week as well. I mean, when the next meaningful game is November the 8th?
8th, yep.
I guess, something like that.
Yeah. Well, actually, you're never wrong, but you are here because Trevor Harris hasn't been getting any reps this week. It looks like Jake Mayer's going to start at quarterback for the Riders. Which, by the way, Jake Mayer's no slouch. He's a guy that's played in this league at a high level. Yes, he hasn't been spectacularly consistent, but I mean, with a less than spectacular Stamps team, he had pretty good stats last year. So it's not exactly a gimme with Jake Mayer at quarterback. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, as good as we say they've been the last 5 years, they've been very inconsistent. They need Zach Collaros to play a lot better than he's been playing. Like, he'd even admit, in fact, he did admit to his team, that wasn't my best game after the game in the locker room. He did apologize to his team and said, you know what, I'm going to be much better going forward.
Yeah, I will ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
What did you think of Killam's decision not to try to score at the end of the game? Did you think, I thought it way too conservative for my liking. I mean, you had an opportunity potentially to put, the fate back in your own hands. I know it was a bit of a long shot, but I just thought I was really surprised by his unwillingness to take a shot there.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you 90% of the way, although there's this little 10% that's like, okay, we do need the win, which he said after the game. And listen, I've got a team that's playing good football, but we're still kind of a cursed franchise. So let's just take the win and live to fight another week. But you're right. Like when you've got the Bombers down and you got a chance to win the season series and it's in your favor, meaning that you don't have to drive the field, like you're right on their side. I thought they probably should have gone for more too. I agree with you 100%, man. I agree absolutely 100%. Well, James, this has been fun. I always appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, and I'm really going to just focus on the last. I know it sounds bad, but I'm going to really just focus on the last real Canadiana playoffs we have, because next year they're going to alter that rouge a little bit too. So it's not even going to be it's not even going to be the same. Like, that's the part I don't understand. We're going to, like, am I seeing this wrong, James? Are we not going to see a lot more turnovers on downs and punting from the 35-yard line? Like, it's going to be weird to watch a team line up for a punt at the 35, because in 2027, that's going to be like a 54-yard field goal.
That's probably, again, one of the things I scratched my head about most, was this premise that somehow this was going to result in more touchdowns, and they kind of pulled that random 60 touchdowns more per year out of, I don't know where, out of thin air. Because I agree with you, and as I said in my article, if you know, imagine today a team on the 35-yard line will kick a field goal on 3rd and 7.
Yeah.
Now, you know, 2 years from now they will likely go for it, but all that doesn't give them a touchdown, because you get a first down. Right now you get another 2 plays, and all of a sudden you're on the 25-yard line. And now you kick a field goal anyways. But to your point, you're going to see a lot more punts from the 45, 50-yard line, right? When maybe you'd see some long field goal tries today. And that's going to both do two things: take away the opportunity for the big returns and turn it into a puncher's contest, right? So unintended consequences is the thing that I don't think they've considered in all of this. And that's why I'm hopeful that, as you said, smart, cooler heads will prevail. And as they go through this and find out that maybe it is not doing what they wanted it to do. And as I said, again, I don't think there's enough wrong with the game that you have to go to these extents to change the rules. And that's what annoys me the most.
Yeah, and back to the Winnipeg-Edmonton game. Did you know that arguably the greatest catch in CFL regular season history would not have counted, because it would have been out of the back of the end zone when Pokey Wilson did it? Did you know that? That would have been out of the back of the end zone in 2027.
There you go. There you go. It's all the evidence we need.
Hey, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
You bet. Have a great day.